Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. This is the show where we answer your questions at home. And as you can see, colour coordination on point. Yes, it's 50 Shades of Green today. Nobody texts each other. It's embarrassing. What
Green machine.
What's going on? But nevertheless, we're going to answer your questions. The first one comes from Ghosting123, who says, what do you guys make of the Paulo Dybala leaks to Manchester United? Are they real, are they fake? God's sake. Green number 3, what do you think?
Is that me, is it?
Yeah, that's you.
I mean, I'd love to see him in the Premier League. What
Yeah.
a talent, what a start to the season he's had. He's recovered as well after a little blip of form. But I think this is an absolute crock of and barely worth talking about.
I completely agree.
But barely. Has a rogue intern got hold of the Twitter account?
Who cares? It's clearly not
Has
Adidas
a
doing it,
naughty
is it?
little nerd hacked
It's
into
just rubbish.
their Twitter page? Who knows? You only very briefly showed me this, and even you weren't interested in it. And it's Manchester United orientated. Normally, you take these things and run with them, don't you?
Yeah.
You'd have gone out and got a Dybala shirt by now if you thought there was anything in it. But I suppose the more pertinent question, lads, is why would Manchester United be bidding for, again in inverted commas, Alexis Sanchez if they were interested in Dybala? There's barely room for Alexis Sanchez at the club.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I suppose the question is, a more sort of pressing question, as the Manchester United fan, Joe, who would you rather see at your club? Alexis Sanchez now or Paulo Dybala in the summer?
I would definitely rather see Paulo Dybala. I mean, younger, I think he's got a higher ceiling than Alexis Sanchez. I think the worst thing about it is that it would cost 150 to maybe even 200 million pounds. I think he's going to be a massive transfer. If Coutinho's going for 160 million euros in the end, I think Dybala goes for more. But equally, I would like Alexis Sanchez at the club. I think we're an extremely lopsided team at the moment. A lot of our attacks come down the left-hand side. We don't really have the option of a right winger. Juan Mata often plays out there, but he always drifts inside, which both helps us and hinders us. And without Antonio Valencia flying as a wing-back, then we really struggle to produce from that right-hand side, which is something Alexis Sanchez can definitely help with in the immediate term. We saw how effective he was for Barcelona on the right. In certain spells at Arsenal, he's played on the right as well, right? And I think he would definitely give the club a bit of a lift in January. But overall, it's got to be Paulo Dybala for me. I think he is maybe the future of Argentinian strikers. But I don't know, it's not going to happen. I just don't see it happening in January especially. What do you guys think? I don't know if you guys think he'd be a good fit.
I mean, Sanchez, let's deal with the Sanchez thing first, because it basically seems like you've offered 25 million, potentially plus Mkhitaryan. There's a bit of confusion there, whether it's plus Mkhitaryan or Mkhitaryan instead, in exchange for Sanchez.
Plus Mkhitaryan would be outrageous.
That would be a pretty good deal. I mean, like, you would definitely take that, I think, as an Arsenal fan, because if you say you got Mkhitaryan and Malcolm in and let Sanchez and Walcott go, maybe that's a first team downgrade, but overall it might be a squad upgrade. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, Sanchez does fit the bill for a lot of things that Mourinho wants in a player. He's willing to defend. He hasn't done a lot of it recently for Arsenal, but he is willing to defend. He can both create and score.
Yeah.
He is kind of a big game player, like, as much as nobody else in the Arsenal squad is. He certainly is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think if I was going to shell out a huge amount, and with Sanchez's wages, you would shell out a huge amount on him.
I think it's like 170 odd million for a 4-year deal with Alexis Sanchez.
See, even if the upfront fee then is small, it still ends up being a lot of money. And I think Dybala plus Pogba pretty much safeguards the commercial future of your club, and Lukaku as well.
It's true. But where does he play? Where do you think he would play with Lukaku? I know he's kind of played with Higuain at times as like a second striker, isn't he? But this season he's looked deadly as an out and out.
He'd have to play in the hole, I think, if you had. Like, if you were playing Dybala, you'd have to go in the hole, and then maybe it restricts Pogba too much. I don't know.
Massively.
Yeah, I think you need Alexis Sanchez potentially more, especially in the short term, than Paulo Dybala. And it's going to be extremely hard to get Dybala out of Juventus. You will have to pay through the nose. Never easy to get someone out of Turin, is it? But it's interesting you mentioned Malcolm just then, a little deviation from the question.
Yeah.
So I put out a poll recently on Twitter, and our beloved fans said they'd rather have Malcolm at £50 million than Riyad Mahrez. Now, this was mainly squared at Arsenal fans because Arsenal have been linked with both, but Liverpool have also been linked with Riyad Mahrez. Now, I suppose it's the similarities between Paulo Dybala and Alexis Sanchez. Do you opt as a top team in this dogfight for second, third and fourth place for a proven Premier League talent who can impact games straight away like Alexis Sanchez would, and Riyad Mahrez? Or do you take a bit of a gamble? Paulo Dybala is probably less of a gamble because he is an exceptional young talent on someone like Malcolm, who's only just started to come to the fore. Looks very prodigious, but is still quite raw. I think Malcolm's got 11 goal contributions in 16 games.
I actually don't know much about him.
This is the Bordeaux winger. Very direct, very pacey, likes to take a shot from distance. I think he's taking around 3 shots per game, but only 0.8 of them are from inside the box, which shows you that the kid is very much in the Coutinho mould and will probably need some coaching on that front. But to tie it all in, do you think it's more of a risk, Pato, going for someone like Malcolm or spending the same money on someone who's 5 or 6 years older?
I mean, it is undeniably more of a risk. Though the thing is, often we talk about how players transition between leagues, but we don't necessarily talk about how players transition between styles, you know, and that's as much of a big deal. Yeah. You know, like Mahrez to Arsenal would be a huge change in style. It really would be. And that can be a problem as well. The good thing with Malcolm is he is 20 years old. He's shown very good potential. His shooting, his shot locations are horrific. But
he has scored some bangers though.
And his expected goals numbers are very solid. Like expected goals and expected assists, it looks like he should be contributing to a goal or assist every other game. That's really, really good for any player. And at his age, at 20 years old, that's exceptionally good. I think the problem is a lot of our wisdom about the transfer window has been kind of accrued over years where we didn't have the possibility of doing statistical analysis, and now we actually can do that. And that makes buying a player from Ligue 1 or something much less of a risk than it ever has been before. That's not to say it isn't a risk at all.
On the subject of Ligue 1 then, would you, at your respective clubs, because this would never happen with Celtic, take Lucas Moura from PSG for, apparently he's available between 15 and 20 million pounds, and having just had a very decent season. I think he scored 11 goals, contributed around 4 or 5 assists for PSG. He'd be less of a gamble and could perhaps make an immediate impact. Decent squad player, 15, 20 million, decent January business in your opinion.
United
He's been perpetually linked with Manchester United.
I mean, United were linked with him before he even moved to PSG, and it was kind of a little bit of a meant to be seen as a miss when we first didn't get him and he went to PSG. But now, does he play on the right? I kind of felt like he's more of a left winger. And if he plays on the left...
He's definitely played on both sides.
Yeah, that's fine then. We do need that right winger.
Across the front three,
but what I will say, yet again, is that if you're going to pay £20 million for Lucas Moura, why not spend the extra 10 and get Alexis Sanchez?
Yeah.
I know that he's probably going to cost more in terms of wages, but that extra £50,000 a week for Manchester United is really small.
But he looks to have his heart set on Manchester City, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He wants to play with Pep Guardiola, doesn't he? But I just think that...
But if you needed someone on the right, you need them for 6 months, you need to secure second place, because first place is shot to bits now.
It's not the worst option, Lucas Moura.
But I think there are better things you can do with the money.
I completely agree. I personally don't want Lucas Moura at Manchester United right now.
I don't think you need him.
Maybe you hold off until the summer and then you look at your options for a right winger. But I also think that United have to focus on playing in that 4-3-3 to go back to getting the best out of Paul Pogba. And although we've said in the past Ozil will be a very good signing and Alexis Sanchez will be a good signing, I think we need to build the team around Pogba.
Yes.
And I think that is not necessarily at the forefront of a lot of Manchester United fans thinking. I think they just want names in. Let's get names in holes, let's get Griezmann, let's get Dybala in. Where do these boys play in a 4-3-3 to get the best out of Pogba? We need to get his ceiling high before we even focus on the names. We need to get the positions, the formations and the roles built around a 4-3-3 that gets the best out of Paul Pogba.
So in summary, Dybala, rumour, absolute you would take him in the summer despite not knowing where to play him.
If we can find a formation that suits Pogba.
Alexis Sanchez probably heading to Manchester City.
Definitely.
Malcolm might be worth the 50 mil.
Yeah.
Not really clarified that, have we? And Riyad Mahrez probably goes to Liverpool.
Good Celtic, why not?
Couldn't afford him.
Pennies.
He'd get 45 assists.
In a game.
The next question came from Nameless Soul, who asked, what's the best Premier League 11 for the first half of the season? Now, we've tried to do this before and it got a bit messy, so instead we're going to do the best player from each position: defender, goalkeeper, midfielder and forward. Shall we start with the keepers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in
go
the Premier
for it,
League,
bro.
this is, by the way, in the Premier League, just a little caveat. Who's saying who?
Well, I think we both know who you're going to say, right? Or do we?
I'm going to say Edison.
Oh, I'd have thought you would have gone for David De Gea.
You're just trying not to look
refer
biased.
to
No, I'm not.
as the best
Look,
player in
I'll
the
be
league.
honest. De Gea is a far better goalkeeper than Ederson, but we expect De Gea to be this good
At the
now.
moment.
He's been so good for so many seasons now. It's almost like, oh, he's just done it again. Whereas Ederson, I actually wasn't expecting to be anywhere near the level.
So he gets
is.
extra kudos for outperforming your
100%
expectations.
agree.
Right.
I don't know. I think De Gea is the superior goalkeeper, but Ederson, when he arrived from, was it Benfica?
Yeah,
I just
33
I
mil.
was suspicious about the move. I mean, Pep doesn't have the best history of goalkeepers. Got rid of England's number one, got rid of the Barcelona keeper he brought in, now tries Ederson, and it was a big hit or miss move, making him the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, and it's paid off massively.
And not just in the sort of player he was picking up. After the Claudio Bravo experiment failed, a lot of old English pundits were sharpening their knives, weren't
100%.
they? Waiting for the goalkeeper who likes to pass out from the back, fail yet again in Pep Guardiola's system. But Ederson's come in, completed, the jigsaw. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City jigsaw, and it's been
87%.
outrageous.
That's incredible. And Man City's whole defence, I think. Maybe we'll go on to talk about them in a bit, but yeah, I'm going to go Ederson just because of the shock value.
I disagree.
But his passing is so good that have you noticed that Manchester City's midfield just sits so much higher because they know he's going to hit them, and it leads teams to sort of sit further back. Even teams like when they play Tottenham, that midfield line, who normally have a really good average position, had to take 5-6 yards off it, and it was it's been incredible.
But the thing with Ederson is, like, look, obviously he facilitates a lot of Man City's play, but I do think that if you replace him with another keeper, Man City are probably still the best team in the league. I don't think Man United are the second best team in the league, but they currently are looking like it, and that's pretty much only because of De Gea. De Gea stopped them losing against Arsenal. He kept them in other games, like I think at Liverpool as well. He had a stormer. He's had some genuinely unbelievable performances this season.
But he does it every year.
Yeah, but why does that make it unremarkable?
It's not a negative, but it's just like a freak show. He saves so many unsavable chances that I'm used to.
Yeah, I've told anyone who will listen on Twitter that Manchester United are facing around 13 shots per game at the moment, which is almost double that of Manchester City.
Yeah.
And the fact that you had until a couple of weeks ago similar goal difference
incredible.
Is incredible. But I would still go for Ederson, I think. Purely on value for money. I think I agree with what you're saying to an extent, but I don't think Manchester City would be as well-rounded. They would still win games by the sheer force of their attacking prowess, but I think having Ederson behind, with Otamendi, having Ederson behind him has also brought the best out in him. The defence, even when Mangala comes in, are much more confident in their build-up play, and it's just sort of breathed confidence throughout that back line and moving into defensive midfield as well. But
couldn't agree more. Should we go on to defenders then? Bit of a split decision, but who are you going to say for defender pair? Why don't you start this one?
You've got to look at Kyle Walker, I think. You've got to look at Ben Davis. I'd probably go Nicolas Otamendi. I think Otamendi's been absolutely sensational. I mean, in the past, people have kind of criticised him for being a bit rash, though I think that was largely because Man City have always played a really high line, and often the person who ends up looking like a dick in that situation is the one guy trying to make an insane tackle and save the day.
Yeah.
Well, and he was really old as well. But I mean, you see it with Arsenal all the time, just defenders are always left on an island. And Otamendi has been a part of a defence this season which has conceded fewer shots per game than any team over the last 9 seasons in the Premier League. And that is since records began. That's the point at which we started getting advanced stats. They have been the best defence in the last 9 seasons.
And he's been the mainstay, hasn't he?
He's been amazing.
Vincent Kompany, John Stones, Mangala have all interchanged.
And you look at situations as well, they lose their £52 million left back signing to injury. They bring in Fabian Delph and they're able to plug that hole. And partially that has to go down to Delph playing well and Guardiola obviously working out a system that can make that kind of work. But it also has to go down to the quality of the rest of the defensive line. And Otamendi and Kyle Walker have just been sensational. I'm really delighted for Otamendi actually, because quite often these players come in and they immediately get chucked onto the shit tip by press who kind of want them to be bad. And so I'm delighted that Otamendi has been one of Man City's players of the season so far.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of other shouts, I think. Cesar Azpilicueta, I think every single season doesn't seem to put many feet wrong, but his connection, I think, with Alvaro Morata this season has maybe taken, I don't want to say taking his game to another level, but maybe diversified his game slightly. That diagonal chipped cross that he's perfected.
Yeah, to have 5 assists at this point already for a defender is insane.
Also, James Tarkovsky, I think, needs a mention. I know Burnley sit in a really deep block, and we're not the biggest fan of their kind of defensive structure and how many shots they concede and how many shots they take, but Tarkovsky has been a monster, and it's partly down to the way Sean Dyche drills him, but I don't think anybody expected the replacement for Michael Keane to just come in from the Burnley squad already and just slot in completely naturally. I don't think anybody's noticed Michael Keane's drop out.
He's been a bit of a project as well, Tarkovsky. They bought him in from Brentford a couple of years ago, and he's just made huge strides this season. I'd put Kyle Walker in there. I didn't think he was a sort of Pep kind of player, but he gives them such a physical edge, doesn't he? And he allows the rest of the team to be so high because his natural pace does allow him just to sweep back, cover any sort of any ongoing counter attacks. Who else should I put in there? Potentially Alexis Sanchez. I think a lot of eyebrows were raised when Tottenham paid £30 million for him, but he's come in, he's been absolutely excellent, for want of a better phrase. Again, physical monster.
I think he gives Tottenham's defence a different element that they were maybe missing, that sort of physicality.
He's incredible in the one-on-one.
He's got that, bit of tenacity. He seems nigh on impossible to go around. And he has filled a very big hole in Toby Alderweireld. He hasn't got the same levels of distribution, but Tottenham have been able to mix it up, and by and large, thanks to him slotting straight in. He's made a similar impact to Eric Bailly when he first came to Manchester United. Came with a lot of fanfare, but the credit he deserved for kind of being thrown, straight in there and adjusting really well is well deserved. Should we move on to the midfield then, lads?
There's only one man, isn't there, in midfield? Has to be KDB.
Yeah.
Don't see how we can select any other options. 9 assists, 6 goals. I think he's comfortably the best central midfielder in the league right now. Maybe even the world. So
yeah,
I don't know. Have you got any disagreements
I find it really hard to look.
Paulinho is clearly the best midfielder in the world.
Ooh, the GOAT. Let's just go straight over the midfield, then go to forwards because it is KDB.
Yeah, I mean, is there anyone else we can talk about? Flesh out the show.
David Silva might get a shout, but
no, that's a resounding no. Then
don't think so. Let's go to forwards because there might be a bit of debate here.
Okay. Obvious candidates then. Salah.
Mo Salah
Kane.
has to be. There's no debate. Has to be Mo Salah. 22
there is a debate.
22 goals in all competitions.
It's Raheem Sterling.
No, come on.
It's Raheem Sterling.
Raheem Sterling is part of the best side in world football.
Are we counting Raheem Sterling as a forward?
Unit.
And he's one of the reasons for it.
He is, but Mo Salah is, I don't want to say individually the best, but his impact on the side has been the best. You could take Raheem Sterling out of that Man City team, and I think someone would fill the void. Take Salah out of that Liverpool team,
I'm not
and I'm
sure.
not convinced.
Raheem Sterling has won an awful lot of points for Manchester City this season, hasn't he? I think
No,
14, I believe.
I'm not denying that, but Salah's got 22 goals, and we're not even at January.
Also, I'd say that Liverpool's attack is designed in such a way to get Salah scoring chances this season, because actually their striker, they're the rare side where their centre forward isn't meant to be their chief goal scorer in a way. They're meant to get more goals from Mane and Salah, whereas actually in City side, the aim is still that the person playing centre forward is going to be scoring the bulk of goals, and yet Raheem Sterling is leading the side. He's got 14 goals and 4 assists in 20 games. That's absolutely nuts. And this is a guy who apparently can't finish, who can't use his left foot. And even
he can't kick the ball further than 30 yards, but he's a supremely talented footballer.
Because his shot locations this season are so close in that it's just like he could just p-roll it across the line. But this is the thing with Salah. There are a lot of times this season, as good as Salah's been, where I think, I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I think, you should maybe do better. I think sometimes he's a bit predictable, and he's not much of a dribbler. He pushes and goes. Right. Sterling, I think, is by far the superior player.
I think he misses a lot of chances that he should perhaps do better with, but maybe because he's running at top speed.
Yeah.
And in a lot of those scenarios, whilst I do agree to an extent, I think he's perhaps done well to create a goal-scoring chance from that opportunity in the first place.
And getting chances is better than,
I was surprised to see that he had the highest conversion rate in Europe's top 5 leagues at one point this season. It may have changed in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
I think it has recently.
But he's also creating 3 chances for himself inside the box every game, which for a player who predominantly played out wide for Roma is unbelievable. He very rarely played off Dzeko, did he? And so that central number 10 position, he did at times, but the way he's adjusted to being the out-and-out point man, I think he also deserves a lot of credit. He
scored some brilliant goals as well. And
he's a bit like Raheem Sterling.
They're so varied. The one thing I really like about Mo Salah is his ability to spin them out. I think we saw it so effectively against Leicester when he spun, was it Harry Maguire? Harry Maguire was slightly too tight.
What?
And
Harry Maguire,
ping,
the green giant.
Yeah,
mate, he is one of the slowest men in the Premier
League.
League.
But Harry Maguire should have outmuscled him. He should have outmuscled him.
It's so difficult to outmuscle someone who's that much smaller than him and that much quicker than him.
But that's what's so effective.
Like, I don't know. If I'm playing against a side on the counter attack, I want Raheem Sterling. If I'm playing against a side who are sitting in a deep block, I want Raheem Sterling. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Mo Salah. I think he's been incredible this season. But I think Sterling, we have seen take a leap, and we forget how young he is. Mo Salah is 25 years old. He's at his physical peak. He's where we'd expect him to be. Yeah. Like, Raheem Sterling is 23 years old, and he's in this conversation for the best player, for the best forward in the Premier League.
Definitely.
That is absolutely.
Can we also just mention as well? I think maybe he doesn't get enough credit because we just expect it now. But Harry Kane just continues.
18 goals in the league.
It's just ridiculous.
It's just outrageous now. It's like we just Harry Kane's got another hat trick. The number of hat tricks he scores is outrageous.
What was it last year? 6,
I think, in 2017. And I think
what did he finish on? 58, was it? He beat Messi's record
56,
by.
I think.
56. I was going to say 56.
But
by a couple.
It's just ridiculous.
But Messi's got 56.
He is the perfect lone striker. He runs the channels. He comes deep. He picks the ball up good aerially. So physical. When you actually watch him in the flesh. When he bounces a man, I don't care who the defender is. Harry Kane wins.
Still an absolute boss, even when he's got the flu.
Yeah, and that
scenario
assist sums him up. How good a footballer he is. The ability he has on the ball, his passing ability. He is a shot monster. He's got everything, and I have serious concerns for Tottenham Hotspur when he leaves because he's not going to stay there forever. He's going to eventually demand new wages, bigger wages, and
he's taken a huge leap actually quietly this season. Like previously, he was shooting at very good levels, kind of like around four shots a game. This season, he's gone up to Messi and Ronaldo levels, which is about 6 shots a game. He's taking 4 shots from inside the box per 90 minutes. I mean, bear in mind that Cristiano Ronaldo is on about 4.8, and Ronaldo tends to respond to frustration by just shooting more. Yeah. Whereas Kane, I don't think his shooting ever hurts the team. And remarkably, given that he's not much of a dribbler and he's not terribly quick, you never look at him and think, you're not a great dribbler or you're not terribly quick. Like, he's just always a danger. He's lethal.
Always a powerful runner in the same sense that Alvaro Morata is. You know,
or Kevin De Bruyne.
You see Morata run with the ball and you're just like, oh, okay, I didn't realise you actually have a bit of gas about you. But what I like about Kane is he drops deep as well to sort of join in with general build-up play, which is what I like about Morata as well. So it's like when people criticise Morata, I think at least he joins in with play. At least he makes other players better. At least he's creating chances for other players. Whereas when someone like Romelu Lukaku isn't playing well, he generally shuts down.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen this season. That might be a bit unfair. He did work the channels well for Everton last season, but that would be my observation. However, I think there should be a nuance in this. Yeah. Because are we counting Raheem Sterling as an out-and-out forward?
Yes.
Because in the same sense that, would we put Leroy Sané in there?
Yeah, I think so.
You think?
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, I think he deserves a mention then. He's also been outrageous, but the kind of squad rotation, I guess, has affected his momentum a little bit.
Yeah, he has. Jesse Lingard as well. But no, he's only really had 2
Not
good
again.
Not again. But anyway, in a serious note, why don't you guys at home decide the forward? You can vote in the poll up there. Are you going to go Salah, Kane or Sterling? Click the I button. Our final question of the day comes from Owen Wilkinson, and he says, which mid-table Premier League club would benefit the most from a financial takeover? There's only one answer. West Ham. Has to be West Ham. The owners are the worst in the league. I know that Mike Ashley's an idiot, but the owners are abysmal. They have their grubby mitts into everything in the club, from transfers to public statements to managerial decisions. They're just appalling. Any club that leaks transfer news to their own owner's son is shot to bits. And takes advice from
it's not great, is it?
So you're not going with the obvious angle in that, new owners would bring new money in. You're just saying that new owners means less bad habits.
Less dildo brothers. Yeah, you've got to get them out of the club.
Fewer dildos.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's got to the stage now where Karen Brady is tweeting abuse to players leaving the club. Like, what is going on at the top?
I always think that with the Apprentice.
When did that happen, out of curiosity?
Last summer. I can't remember which player.
The Adrian one was funny.
The Adrian one was great.
But on the Apprentice, like when I mean, I don't really watch it, but my understanding is she like critiques people's business acumen. Do they never say to her like, you work at West Ham?
I know.
They're the worst run club in the world. You idiot.
So frustrating. Like the owners like have started like tweeting out photos of like biggest fans, and it's like X Factor winners.
Don't they also have a thing on the West Ham website that it's just like the ex-West Ham employee who gives like inside scoops
and
they host this on the official club website?
Literally, what is that? The
where
inside
like,
scoop. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Like,
I mean, they are an embarrassment.
Not only financially, but just as owners, they're terrible. So I would say get them out, forget the financial benefits, and just benefit from having some decent owners at the club.
It's hard to disagree with that in a sense because like West Ham, there's no reason they should be rubbish. Like they've got a new stadium, they've got tons of fans, like
tons of money.
They've actually got some really good players. Like, but they could do. I think a director of football would also solve the problem to an extent as well if they let that person do their job.
Yeah, because they have the worst transfer strategy in the league.
Yeah, though every now and then they pull one out of the bag. Lanzini, Masuaku, you know.
It's like a 12-year-old off his tips on Sherbet playing Football Manager.
Well, it's just like who was good 5 years ago. I don't know. I'll get that person. Like Javier Hernandez. I've heard that name.
Joe Hart.
Yeah, exactly.
The average age of their transfers must be 30 plus. Joe Hart, Jose Fonte, like Javier Hernandez. It's
Pablo
ridiculous.
Zabaleta.
Pablo Zabaleta.
Yeah,
there doesn't seem to be any coherent transfer strategy. It's just fling ball and see what sticks. And 1 in every 30 does. I think of their last 30 strikers, 23 of them have scored 3 or less goals.
Quality.
It's just ridiculous.
But now they're going to get money for like Diafra Sakho selling him to Crystal Palace. So I mean, you can't really knock that. But and sometimes as well, the people they go for, I think, God, you're massively overambitious trying to get like Batshuayi or Lacazette or Baka. But at least you're right; those people would be good. Yeah, I think.
But sometimes I feel like those moves are put out into the press by the owners to placate the fans.
Yeah,
probably. We're going for Anthony Martial, by the way.
I don't know, they might genuinely be stupid enough that they're like, we'll have a strike force of Lacazette and Martial.
When they signed Piquion.
Oh, God.
Who else did they sign as well? From Hibs?
They've just had some utter nonsense, haven't they? Do you remember Ricardo Vazquez? I know Ricardo
Vazquez.
He's a bit of a hero because he scored that last minute playoff winner. But
he played okay in the Championship.
Shambolic. It has to be West Ham.
Okay, but they just need to direct their spending, right? Whereas a club like Newcastle, they just have a dickhead owner and they need a takeover, which is just as well because they're going to get one. But you look at them and you think, just get an attacking mid, get a centre forward, and you'll basically be fine because you've got a huge stadium, you've got loads of fans, you've got some decent players in the squad, and you probably should have enough money, except for the fact that Mike Ashley is trying to keep the value of the club as high as possible so that when he sells it, he'll get the maximum return. Like if you gave Benitez now, 60 million and you said, buy yourself a striker, buy yourself an attacking midfielder, I would put a lot of money on them staying up. But if they don't do that, then they just cannot score because they're trying to get the most out of people like what's he called, Murphy, the guy they got from the Championship, who was famously shit in the Championship. Turns out he's even shitter in the Premier League, just on a bigger stage. Like it's just, I don't know, sort it out. It's just embarrassing. And
Josh Murphy would be quite happy at being famously anything, mate.
Well, I wouldn't know his name if it weren't for the fact I've seen his radar and it's like a dot in the middle. It's awful.
Bless him. I think they're very fortunate they've got Rafa Benitez, aren't they, to steady the ship because it's very much right man, wrong time for me because there was a period in time where Mike Ashley was willing to spend a little bit of cheddar that would probably have facilitated a mid-table Premier League finish.
Well, like Pardew.
But then this is also the guy who offered Alan Pardew an 8-year contract.
Oh, God.
And also
sacked him. And also
made Joe Kinnear the sporting director, and he said Johan Kebab in his first interview, and then he left.
That was
what
great.
a time to be alive.
There's actually a brilliant thread on Johnny Sharples' Twitter about the comedy moments of Newcastle. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
The thing is, with this question, a lot of mid-table clubs are already bankrolled by very rich owners. Haven't West Brom just been recently bought by a Chinese consortium? Leicester are owned by Thai billionaires.
Watford are owned by the Potsy.
Yeah, so really there's a handful of clubs left. I think Bournemouth have very rich owners as
Russians.
well, don't they?
Yeah, but Bournemouth one of the richest in the league.
So potentially Burnley. Imagine what the Ginger Mourinho would do with all that cash at his disposal.
He'd just buy English players.
He'd
buy white English players.
He would.
White. That's what he'd do.
I mean,
very white.
They'd start playing in black shirts. that's what would happen.
Very
Fourth
close to
right.
the line. Well, Southampton as a financial takeover.
They have very good owners, very sensible owners.
They do have sensible owners, yeah.
It's a German lady whose name I've forgotten.
It is.
It's Katharina Linke.
Yes, Linke, yes.
But yes, they all run very efficiently, aren't they? And recently got 75 million for Van Dijk.
Yeah, and I think they just f***ed up like probably letting Puel go and bringing in Pellegrino. Like I don't have a particular issue with Pellegrino, but I think Puel was good. Like that's the first mistake we've seen them make really on a big scale
and it's
in the
been
last
a regression,
6 seasons.
but a slight regression. I still think Pellegrino has something about him. But anyway, what we're saying, Burnley, Newcastle, West Ham.
Yeah, but what do you guys think? If you even care, let us know in the comments. You probably don't. That's the end of this week's episode, but if you want to be involved next week, leave a comment with the hashtag SundayVibes, or why not tweet us. Actually, you're much more likely to be featured if you tweet us a video of yourself giving us a question and then giving us a thumbs up or something like that.
Or someone else, if they have a valid question.
Yeah, or someone else, why not? What's happening on 90+1?
90+1 Facts about Juventus is out now. Fans have been asking for it, so Kieran has obliged. Some really interesting stuff in there about what is probably the biggest club in Italy.
Yes.
Don't at me.
Hamster?
EFD, Stat Wars, Saturday, as always. Continental Club was a good one on Friday, filmed in the same clothes.
In the same places. And on the same day. So thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll catch you later.
Bye.